stay on the track we're on. And so I think the freshman class has made it clear to the rest of the members on the Republican side that it's not going to be business as usual. And the freshman class is a third of the majority. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I think that everybody realizes that we've got to do it, because if we don't do it, this is our last chance. This country's, I'd hate to be pessimistic and doomsdayer, but we are in big trouble. Yeah.
Well, it dovetails this one. I understand about the tax cuts being, continuation as being necessary, but how much BS are we going to allow them to put on that? I mean, I understand that the unemployment, but now we're giving money to all these other countries. These little ornaments are going all over this thing. When do you say enough is enough? I know you don't vote on that yet, but for me, they reached enough is enough when I saw all those earmarks that are going into this bill. I understand it would be a real pain in the butt to go back to the other tax rates and then have to pass it after the new Congress comes in, because there's a lot of paperwork for the companies involved. You can do retroactive, but there's still plenty of paperwork. But when do you say, no, just stop.
Well, that might happen. Like I say, as far as I know, the bill isn't there yet. You know, and like you say, it sounds like all in the last couple of days they started loading it up. When I was in Washington earlier this week, he didn't have all that stuff in there, so we'll have to see. You know, if they start loading it up, you know, they won't have the support. So.
Why do we let them do that? Why don't we just present a bill as a bill and not put anything on it?
Well, because remember, right now, who controls it? Nancy Pelosi threatened not even to bring the first bill, the compromise bill with Obama. She threatened not even to bring it to the House floor.
Actually, at this point, okay. Didn't we lose more than we got when they add all the stimulus stuff they didn't get in it?
Well, I don't know. I don't know where we are in the final bill, because I haven't seen the final bill. Okay, but my point is, if we can get the extension of the tax cuts, not raise taxes, and the way it was earlier, it was the unemployment, you know, that was probably palatable at some level, because considering the circumstances we're under. But now if they start loading up, they're going to lose support, and the thing's going to fall apart. Yeah.
Yeah, Congressman, we got your back out here. We appreciate what you're doing. What can we continue to do to support you folks?
Well, I think you know, it's always good to hear from people, and not just to hear when complain, I guess is the word. You know, I think that especially the freshman class, they need to know that the American people are behind them. If you go and be silent, you know, I don't think you people are going to be, because there's a lot of people out there that are on the other side of this, you know, and I think we've got a lot of people in the freshman class that are thinking like you were thinking, okay, but like I say, a third of them never held elected office, so you know, I don't know if, you know, when it comes to pressure, you know, what will happen. You know, and Chuck Becker shaking his head. You know, we've been through this. You know, you get. I'll never forget this. It was last year in the budget. I can't even remember what the issue was. It was something in the budget, the state budget, and it was over a weekend. And on my laptop, I had the ability to log on to my state computer. Okay, office computer. And I'll never forget. It was a Friday night. It was 9 o'clock, and I was sitting home. My wife and I were sitting home. And I just got my laptop out and I logged on to my state computer and an email. I don't remember what the subject was, something in the budget, but anyways, the emails are coming into my state computer like this, boom, 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 and that went on. We watched until midnight, okay, and it slowed down a little bit after midnight. But my staff was actually working on the weekend because we always have policy to answer all our emails, and they were working on it because it was just unbelievable. And so, you know, you'll get a lot, you know, these our representatives will get a lot of emails and phone calls. And, you know, I am more optimistic now about the future of the country after being in Washington with the new freshman class twice now this last month than I was earlier. I think we're going to do the right thing. but it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough because some of these cuts, we didn't get in this mess just overnight. And, you know, November 2nd was the beginning of getting out of this mess, restoring confidence. The next 2 years, you know, we're still dealing with a Democrat, liberal-controlled Senate and Obama. It's going to be tough to get anything now. If you see what's happened in the last 2 years under his administration, the next 2 years, gridlock would be a good thing. So we're going to be a blocking. We're going to offer a lot of options and alternatives, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and as you were all aware, your chance of getting any bills repealed with Obama in the White House is about zero. He's not going to sign off on it. But you certainly control the tax.
Yeah, well, Obamacare is a good example. We're not going to fund it.
Yeah.
We're not going to fund it.
I'm concerned about seeing you defund some of the new outrageous things that they've tried to jam down our throats. I'd like to see it defunding of some of the old outrageous things they've jammed down our throats.
Good point.
You know, you talk about having to cut the budget. I think it's an excellent place to start would be places like the EPA.
Yeah.
You don't have to take 5% across the board. You don't have to.
No, I just use that as an illustration
No,
of how bad
you
things
can
are.
take 2% from here and 85% from there, with no problem. And I have some of the same concerns this gentleman had. About a year ago, I was walking through Borders and I saw a book. I didn't buy it, I haven't read it, I saw the cover, and the cover caught my eye. It was a political book and it said, crazies to the left of me, wimps to the right. And, you know, it said a lot. Because the Republican Party historically has not gotten up on their hind legs and been willing to fight. And I certainly hope this new group is, or if they're not, unlike years in the past, the last 200 years, there are groups out there now that are paying attention.
Yep.
People are paying attention that weren't paying attention in the 50s, in the 40s, and the 70s. People are paying attention. And if the new group and the seniors that are there, not just the freshmen, don't get up on their hind legs and fight for the people, they too will become the old group.
Well, you know, that's what elections or campaigns are about. And I think the message was clear. And the one thing I said a lot, historically, Americans don't get fired up. You know, we're kind of slow to get fired up. An example I give is read history pre-World War II, or before we got involved in World War II. You know, World War II was raging over there in Europe. You know, Hitler was all over the place. And, you know, we had a big fight in this country about helping England, Great Britain at the time, and they started doing it. And then you know, the U-boats sunk our ships and got us involved, and of course Pearl Harbor. But when we finally did get involved, think about it. It was a good thing that we did. We ended that protectionist, isolationist policy that we had. Because if Hitler would have got Great Britain, I don't know how you know, things might have been different. But I don't know how we would, you know, prosecute that war. So I think we're acknowledging now this, you know, this year, November, American people are raising up and they are waking up to the problem. They know that something's broke. They know abortion is broke. You know, some of the things I didn't mention, just the legislative process of abortion is broke. It's so far past broke, it's become corrupt. The earmarks have become a corrupting thing to get people to vote for Obamacare. They threatened the use of the earmarks. The Cornhusker kickback, you know, the Ben Nelson thing, that was corruption. You know, there's always, you know, in the political process, legislative process, there's always some compromises and some deals made, but that was way over the top. You know, it was way over the top. You know,
What we're seeing now with a lot of these add-ons that are in this new bill, are these more of the Louisiana Purchase and the Corn?
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. But remember, who's doing that? We're not in charge yet.
No.
And so bear with us. You know, give us a little threat here because we're not in charge. I mean, now one thing John Boehner has said, you know, the committees, and I should mention this because I learned this when I first got in the legislature. the legislation that I worked on in my 8 years in legislature and the bills that became law, almost, I think everyone, I have to go back and look, but I'm almost certain, almost nearly everyone had 2 or 3 substitute bills, meaning that during the process, they were amended and substitute bills because we got more people involved and we made it, you know, a better legislation. And my point is, the legislative process, when it's allowed to work, it's a good process because you introduce a bill in one chamber, you have hearings, people come in, whoever's interested, stakeholders, and they get their input for or against. It does pass, it goes over to the other chamber, the whole process starts over, so you get duplication. So hopefully, if you screwed something up, and that sometimes happens, so we fix it in the other chamber, we realize that something was messed up. But the problem is, in Washington D.C., under Nancy Pelosi, they even have a committee process. They've had big amendments put into bills at the last minute on the floor. Nobody knew what was in it. But Nancy Pelosi said we got to pass health care so we can find out what's in it. I can't believe maybe that's stupid to say that. That's stupid. I mean, now we're finding out what's that?
And she did it.
Yeah, now we're finding out more and more what's, every day you find out more what more nonsense is in it. And she just doesn't get it. So, you know, the committee process has to be allowed to function. That's what I call the legislative process. And it hasn't functioned at all under this current Congress, this current leadership. So that's part of the problem. And when you talk about budgets, that's another part of the problem. You need to break these bills up, especially appropriation bills, budget bills, and have votes on more narrow issues, not just a broad thing. Because what government does is that they're able to pass a lot of nonsense in these big budget bills because there's things in there that you can't like vote against. You know, one thing that infuriates me is when they have a bill, appropriations bill to make sure we fund our troops, okay? But then they'll add in all this other nonsense, so it puts you in a position, and we can't allow that to happen. Now, under the leadership, the new leadership in the House, my plan is we're not going to allow that to happen. We're going to have separate votes. We're going to have a vote on raising the, funding the troops and not funding all this other stuff domestically. Yeah.
You're talking a lot about defunding different programs like the EPA, FCC, and so on and so forth, and defunding culture. And what's the feasibility and or maybe behind closed doors what's going on as far as impeaching certain presidents?
Well, I wish I don't know how exactly to answer that question. It does amaze me. It does amaze me that the birth certificate issue. You think he would just offer out and put that to rest? I guess we'll just have to see what progresses here and that.
The birth certificate is
What's that?
He's got everything here.
I mean, it's just the whole thing is just bizarre. I suppose I know there were some people that jumped all over me during the campaign that you need to start a petition or some nonsense that they get rid of Obama, and I said, even if that was possible, which it isn't, the election will be here before all that through the process. So I think we need to be careful that we don't get down in a thing and just get taken over and not focus on what we need to get done. Not get sidetracked. Obviously, I don't support Obama in anything, but we got to be careful that we don't get down in the militia, just all this nonsense and that's what the Democrats want to do. I know in the campaign they want to talk about a bunch of nonsense. They want to talk about spending, taxes, regulations. So we got to be careful how we do that. Yeah.
I think one of the things incoming freshman class in Congress is going to have to be aware of. This comes from my years as a Secret Service agent, listening to the vaccine conversation, is the effect of lobbyists, especially on incoming freshmen, and their ability to separate good advice, bad advice from bribery. And I would hope that all the freshman congressmen go there for hired to live off their salary and not become part of the millionaire class that leaves Congress.
Well, this question is, you know, a lot of things have changed. If any of those things are done by any member of Congress, honorariums, of course bribes, any of that, that's breaking the law. The pendulum is, the law has swung so far to the one side that a lobbyist cannot buy me lunch. They can buy it right now, but come January 3rd, I cannot accept even a lunch from a lobbyist. So, you know, it's pretty much everything is not permissible anymore. Obviously, you know, everybody, keep this in mind, everybody, pretty much everybody in America is represented by a lobbyist of some point. If you're a member of any organization, you have a lobbyist. And I know lobbyists get bad names, but there are some good lobbyists out there in Columbus. And the way I've always said, as a senator, representative, I always felt like a big funnel. All this information coming in, you got to sort through it and try to do the best policy for the people of Ohio. And obviously, you can't be an expert in every subject. Obviously, you know, I have more expertise in certain areas and no expertise or knowledge in other areas. And so you rely on, you know, one of my jobs, we have a representative government, and one of my jobs is to work to try to get all the information and make decisions on what I think is best. Okay. Now, you as citizens, you know, elect me. When you know what I tell people, if you're looking at a candidate and you're trying to decide who to vote for, especially in a large area like 16 counties, I said, well, there's two things you ought to look at. One is find out what kind of support they have in their home area. If they don't have any support in their home area, that ought to be a red flag, because those people know you. Okay. The second thing is you ought to find out what makes that person tick. You know, what their upbringing's been, what they've done in their life. You know, are they a labor person, a business person? You can go on and on and on. And you probably, you know, if that person, philosophically, you will determine where that person is, if they're in line with you. That might be the person you're going to support. Now, you're probably never going to be 100% agreeable. You know, I like to say, your spouse, do you agree with 100% all the time with your spouse? And if you do, one of you is lying. Okay. So, but if you agree, like Reagan said, 80%, which I imagine in this group, we're more than 80%. So, you know, my point is, it's a job as a congressman now to, you know, be able to sift through all that nonsense and figure it out. And I'll tell you, one thing I've learned in this last year plus, running as a challenger. This is the first time I ran as a challenger. I always had open seats before. The lobbying community really showed their real colors, both in Columbus and DC. Now they're all coming back with their tail between their legs. Because I didn't get much support from Washington, DC, the lobbying community, or Columbus for that matter. And now they're all coming back, well, you know, yeah, you know. And so it's kind of funny, but all the Washington, DC pundits have written me off. It was interesting. I went through an 8-way primary, a very competitive primary. I won by 155 votes out of 53,000. Don't get much closer. A month later, when it was finally determined, I was broke. My campaign was broke. I wasn't broke personally. My campaign was broke. We raised $250,000 in June, mostly from local people. Well, all local people, because the lobbying community, PACs weren't there at all. PACs didn't get involved until the last 3 weeks of the campaign in October. But they all written me off, and of the 5 contested races here in Ohio, you know, the ones that you hear about, that we won, I won, so far it looks like I won by the most percentage of any of them. And they had all written me off. And there's one guy in Washington, D.C. that put out a thing yesterday. I want to call him up. Now, you know what I'm going to do. He listed, I can't believe this, but this guy's an idiot. This is one of the pundits. He listed 5 seats in the United States, 1 Democrat, 4 Republicans, that are in jeopardy in 2 years. And I'm one of them. And because she said I rode the wave, and I'm only there because I did an unimpressive campaign. My God, Bill Johnson won by 2 points. He rode the wave against Charlie Wilson. I won by almost 15 points. And I just want to tell him off so bad, but I guess I have to restrain myself. What? Rothenberg. You know, just made, but see, he was wrong. He called the race the other way. and I guess he's just come to, but I can't believe all the 435 house races, 5 in the United States, he picks me as in bad shape for the next time around. And I won by 15 points.
Well, if you ever want to know which rocks to look under to stop the deficit spending, give me a call. Working for the Department of Labor right now.
Wow, that's a good place to start.
I can tell you where the bones are buried.
Yeah.
I would like to know how things are going to some sort of newsletter by Congressman. We're not relying on the socialist media to tell me what's going on. Is there
Well,
a way to send
what
a newsletter out? Or
Yeah, what I'm doing, because you personally won't be getting one from me because you're not, you're to get from him or Nancy, unless you live up here or whatever. Yeah, anyway, yeah. One thing Zach Space did, that's why Zach Space, he sent out quote newsletters. They were campaign pieces. They were disgusting. We've got 16 counties so far. We're opening one district office in Zanesville. I've got 4, maybe 5 people that are going to be out in the field, and I don't want them in the office. Only one person in the office, but we're going to be going to the chamber meetings and all that stuff, And we're doing a lot on the email stuff, developing an email database, and we will do some newsletters, but they're going to be newsletters, not campaign pieces. Plus, there'll always be a survey. People can respond back, what their thoughts are. So I've always had a very open door policy. I think that's pretty evident. I came up here this morning, and I'm still your state senator only for a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Bob, one of the things that you could do to help us a lot, to help you, would be perhaps let Jim know at new address, your phone numbers, the major aids we should get to if we have an issue, that kind of stuff. If you could get it to Jim, then he can email it to this group. It saves you time, it saves us effort trying.
I'll make a note. We'll make sure we'll send the information to Jim here because you got a good, your email you send out.
Because you do represent us.
Yeah, no, I know.
Not territorially, perhaps, but you do represent us.
That's why I've always said what happens in Congress doesn't matter. Obviously what Betty Sutton's done to us, or Dennis Kucinich. Yeah.
What is your commitment to not vote yes on any bill that does not include the congressman in it? Such as going through airports and having to be screened where you can bypass the system. Or you're not included in the health care benefits bill that we have.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up.
And not just that.
Well, I'm going to address a whole array here because you got me. There's been a lot of people. I've had a lot of emails from a lot of Tea Party people that here's why I do a little information. Okay, a little information helps. I think the right information that us in Congress should take paid Social Security and all that. Blah blah blah. Guess what? We do. I am. Of course, my salary is increasing a lot from my state senator salary, but my benefits are going way down from what I had at the state level. So when I was there for 2 weeks before orientation, I had to go, do the payroll stuff like any employee. We do pay Social Security. Congress has been paying it since 1984. I found out. I wouldn't aware of that myself. They do have a federal pension plan, which is nothing like the states, called FERS, I guess. Employee Retire System. They take out 1.3% and they pay 17% of the 1.3. So I don't think that's a big deal. They do have a 401k, which is similar to the private sector. Healthcare. Right now I'm getting a lot of the Columbus Dispatch wrote a big article about how I came out opposed Obamacare and then I'm taking federal health insurance. Well, I told them I'm comparing apples to apples. When I'm paying, what we're doing on federal health insurance is not the Obamacare. It's an employer-employee relationship. So if you have a job in the private sector and your employer supplies health insurance, the employee pays into it. On my plan, if I do the family plan, which I'm not doing the family plan, it's almost $500 a month. It's like Blue Cross, I guess, and about $200 a month for the single. So that's not the same thing as the Obamacare. And now the Columbus liberals are trying to make it look like, well, you Republicans are against Obamacare, but then you're taking federal. Well, it's not the same thing because you're taking It's an employer-employee relationship. And the best example I give you is your new Congressman, Jim Renacci. When you're a member of Congress, you can't have earned income from anywhere else. You can have unearned income, you know, from investments and rentals, but you can't have earned income anymore. So Jim Renacci has had to shut down or turn over to other, whoever, because he's got some business deals, okay? And he had, and his company was you know, supplying him health insurance. Well, since he can no longer receive earned income from his companies, he can no longer receive health insurance from his business. So now, you tell somebody like Jim Renacci that has to do away with all that, he's not eligible to go buy into the employer sector of the health insurance for Congress. Doesn't make any sense. If you want to take that further, you might as well say, well, about what's the difference in the paycheck there? I mean, that's part of the compensation. It's not Obamacare. It's not, because I am adamantly opposed to Obamacare, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't be eligible to buy in to the employer-employee package, you know. That makes sense?
It makes sense, but I'm not just talking about healthcare. I'm talking about any bill that gets passed. Are you committed to not sign anything that will not include the people in Congress?
Oh, okay, okay.
Any bill.
The exempt, yeah, I don't think we should be exempt from. Now, obviously, when I go to the airport, I go through the screening just like you do.